my name is Amanda Terry. I'm managing partner of Acti Ventures. We're an early stage venture fund investing in companies using digitization to make industries more efficient and processes more scalable and replicable. We also believe that technology can be the best force for good, and we like companies that are solving challenges related to the UN SDGs. I am so thrilled to have an opportunity to sit down with one of our limited partners, Dr. Gemma Green. Thank you, Gemma, for taking the time today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Great. I mean, we've known each other for years, I guess through kind of the Acti Global Network, and remember coming to Perth several years ago and even getting to go to your company holiday party. For anyone who doesn't know about PowerLedger, obviously Gemma is the co-founder and CEO. Talk a little bit about your background and how you founded the company.
Yes, so I'm from Perth in Western Australia, and my business partner and I, John Bullich, co-founded PowerLedger in May of 2016, so more than 8 years ago. And we met by chance, actually. I just had a baby, my first child, 7 weeks earlier, and a former banking colleague of mine, because I used to work in investment banking, wrote me an email to introduce me to him. And actually, I didn't really want to organize a meeting because I just had a baby.
Yeah.
But I felt kind of bad and a bit compelled. So I actually called up my mum and said, could you come to the house and hold Amelie, my baby, while we chatted? So the four of us all sat in my lounge room, and John told me about blockchain technology, and he'd been working in that field for quite a while. And I was halfway through my PhD. I was designing a solar and battery system for an eco-village, and I wanted to be able to trade electricity within the eco-village, and I couldn't actually find software that did that. When he started telling me about blockchain technology, I said, could it do anything in my doctoral research project? And that prompted us to start to look together, and we saw not only could it do that, but many other things in the context of energy and carbon markets, and we got very excited. And 3 months later, we set up the company. So
Wow.
It was not really on the kind of agenda to become a co-founder.
Were you still finishing your PhD, or you just finished?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was halfway through it.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, so I finished that, and in the early days of PowerLedger, it was like not as like time consuming. Obviously now it's like the entirety of my focus. But since then we've built products for utilities, for electricity companies, that allow them to offer new products for their customers to be more granular around electricity for tracking purposes, and to allow peer-to-peer trading of electricity as well. And we have a marketplace for trading environmental attribute certificates, so things like renewable energy certificates or carbon credits. We were an Australian company, and we moved a year ago to Switzerland.
Okay.
And we did that because we actually didn't have a lot going on in Australia. Most of our clients were in Europe, and we wanted to be closer to better service the markets, especially by that stage I'd also had 2 more kids. It was not great to be traveling for such long periods of time. So
It's far.
it is. Yeah, it's far away.
Yeah.
We decided to, make a change, and we chose Zug because it's actually a really great place to raise a family. And there's a lot happening in the blockchain ecosystem, which was particularly appealing for me, rather than having to go to a conference to meet people in the space.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And PowerLedger has been doing, first of all, it was Australia's first ICO, right, in 2018. Very successful.
2017.
2017, sorry,
Yeah.
2017. So very successful. But you've been doing projects all over the world, right? Are there any that you can point out that are just really using this technology super well, that could be kind of like an inspiration for other governments, communities, etc., to be using your technologies?
Absolutely. Yeah. So in terms of like more interesting clients, we've got a client in Austria called Energy Steiermark, and they're a really pioneering energy supplier. And we've developed a product for them around peer-to-peer trading of electricity. And it's for both residential customers, households, but also for businesses as well. So it might be that the companies have a lot of different shops, and they might have rooftop solar on some, and they can actually trade and supply other stores, and also sell surplus electricity to others within the peer-to-peer energy network.
Wow.
And that's I think the largest commercial peer-to-peer project in the world. And we're also working in Greece with a company that was formerly called Mytilineos, but just rebranded to be called Metlen. It's a very large like conglomerate, but they have an energy supplier subsidiary called Protergia, and they want to allow their customers to do visualization of energy at the site level to see at every site how much energy are they consuming from different types, and that can inform decisions around procurement so that they can like buy more renewable energy or for reporting purposes. And within that, there's the ability for customers that are charging like electric vehicles to purchase renewable energy certificates so that their energy charging the EV can be green, because it's not always if you're just charging it from the grid. And so, yeah, there's like quite a few different use cases in that, depending on the customer and what is important to them.
Yeah.
Whether it be like trading surplus energy and having more control of your energy future, or getting insights to inform decisions around purchasing, or making sure your energy is green.
Wow. So innovative. That's incredible what you guys are doing. I feel like it's like the future. It is, I mean, it's now happening, but it's also like the way everything needs to move and is moving.
Yeah, there's like a lot of like kind of macro trends around energy that happened like in the past 30 years, where like energy used to be centralized from, coal, gas, nuclear, but has become increasingly hybrid, which involves both centralized energy, and there wasn't really a market mechanism to allow this to happen efficiently. So in many countries that actually have high amounts of renewable energy, they have very high electricity costs. It's kind of renewable energy's dirty secret. And so actually we need to evolve the market mechanisms from being centralized to actually being distributed markets, as well as decentralized energy. And that's actually making it more efficient, because, say we live on the same street, if you can buy my surplus energy, then you don't need to upgrade a substation to bring more energy into the grid. And similarly, if I'm exporting it, you might need to upgrade like substations and transformers to be able to export it. And the infrastructure costs of moving the energy around are very high.
Yeah.
So having local energy markets actually can make the grid more efficient. So it's not just like a nice thing to have, it's really about having low cost, low carbon energy as well. But in terms of like projects, since we set up the company, we've done more than 30 projects in 15 countries.
Wow.
And so we really understand how the technology can work in different market settings and different contexts, depending on what the client has wanted. What we have done in like the past year is really focus on where there's like a larger obtainable market, to really like push growing the user base for those customers where we see the biggest opportunities for scale.
Wow, amazing. And you are moving into investing as well, right? From Power Ledger?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
maybe you've known for a while. So speak a little bit about that. Okay.
Yeah, it's quite a recent thing that we started to look at investing in other companies. I'd call it kind of venture partnering. Sometimes it's just that we're investing in companies that we, think are really great, doing great things in the Web3 space or the energy space. But also looking at how we might collaborate with them with our own products, as well as investing in them as well. And yeah, that was kind of like an organic thing that kind of evolved after we moved to Switzerland. We started to like meet a lot of founders and understand the space, and obviously being an LP in the Actai Unicorn Fund as well, and hearing about the different activities, we started to like understand more and see how we could actually contribute to the space, both in terms of our own products, but also like diversifying our balance sheet and investing in other companies as well.
That's awesome. Wow. That's very cool. I look forward to kind of deal sharing if you see interesting things.
We've already done that.
Yeah, we've done that. But we keep doing that.
It's great. No, it's been wonderful
Yeah.
actually. Like sharing deals with other investors and understanding the space, and also just thinking about like what our investment philosophy is, because you don't really understand. I mean, you can theoretically do that, but actually through doing some due diligence with deals and figuring out the ones we don't want, and what we're kind of figuring out actually what approach do we want to take, like how early, what's the kind of criteria. And I'm sure that's something you've thought about quite deeply, but in addition to sharing deals, just understanding how investors think about things has been really great to be a part of the investor space in addition to being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I love that. You were just in Singapore, right, for Breakpoint?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Was that just like a week or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, last week.
Last week, okay. And I know you had a big announcement
Yes.
about a partnership with Solana. Talk a little bit about what was the impetus for that partnership and significance.
Yeah, so we announced that we're expanding into Solana mainnet, and about 2 years ago, we actually forked the Solana code and we spun up public blockchain. Actually, it was initially a private blockchain that we made public based on the Solana protocol. And we did that because prior we were using an Ethereum-based blockchain, and there are a lot of limits to scale. Like the amount of transactions it can process per second sits around like 15 transactions per second. And when you get a lot of metadata from electricity meters, it's just not enough to actually, maintain the marketplace in real time. And so we started looking for different technologies, and Solana really stood out because it processes multiple blocks in parallel rather than one block at a time, which is how Ethereum works. And as a result of that, it can process more than 50,000 transactions per second.
Wow.
So it's kind of night and day. And for our particular use case, it was really perfect. So we hard forked Solana and worked on that for 2 years. We originally ran it as a private consortium chain, and then we made it public. And meanwhile, we've been like engaging with the Solana ecosystem and obviously all the tools that they've got. And we're actually a founding member of the DeepIn Association. And DeepIn really is about bridging Web 2 into Web 3. And so much of what we're doing is about like bringing companies in Web 2 into Web 3, which is actually what blockchain is about.
Yes. And
so it just made a lot of sense because there's a really thriving DeepIn ecosystem within Solana, as well as all the tools that they've already built for their chain. And it made sense. It was like a kind of natural step, I would say, for us to just focus on product and be part of the bigger Solana ecosystem. And I think for them, sustainability is also really important, as well as for us. So it's kind of like, a natural place for us. There's a lot of opportunities within Web3, within the Solana ecosystem to support like validators that want to track electricity, buy offsets, like in tokenized form in an automated fashion. So that, I think there's a lot of Web3 opportunities for us using our technology to support the Solana ecosystem as well. So we announced that at Breakpoint in Singapore, and on the 13th of October, we'll be migrating our products and also the Power token. It will remain an ERC20 token. As you said, we did Australia's first initial coin offering or token generation event in 2017.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's like an ERC20 token, but we'll lock up a portion of that and we'll mint the same amount on Solana, and we'll be spinning up a DeFi pool in Raydium to allow people to buy and sell Power tokens on Solana as well. So it's very exciting. Yes.
Oh my gosh! Wow. And how was Breakpoint?
It's actually.
I've not been to that conference yet, but I've heard it's pretty incredible.
I just enjoy it so much. It's actually quite small, and I much prefer smaller conferences. And there's so much building going on, and there's real excitement around it. It felt a bit like the early days of Ethereum to me.
Yeah.
And it's just really well organized, really great food. And it's a very exciting place to be. I went last year as well to Breakpoint in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's a pretty special conference.
Are you still working on your thesis for investing from Power Ledger, or is there anything, like sometimes I ask some of our investors, like Bill Lard, like what do they look for in companies that they're investing in? Maybe it doesn't need to be your like strict thesis from Power Ledger, but even you as an individual, what type of things do you look for kind of in the teams or the companies? What attracts you to invest in them?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it ties in a lot with Bill Tai, who I was lucky enough to meet in Perth at West Tech Fest in 2017, and he's been an early supporter of Power Ledger and really was very catalytic in our initial coin offering being so successful. We went to Necker Island to the Blockchain for Good Summit there, and a lot of the people there really understood the technology, and it was just really refreshing for me because in Australia, actually, pitching that, a lot of people didn't understand it, and the support around it from Bill and his friends and people that he kind of invests in was just really encouraging. So that was such an important and catalytic moment, I think, for the company and for me personally. And since then, working with Bill and how just understanding how he invests has actually been quite instructive for John and I in terms of how do we want to think about companies and founders. And it's been interesting like hearing him talk about, sometimes he might just invest in the person because he thinks that they're like a really good person and they're really hardworking and they've got the right kind of attitude and outlook, even that they might not have found the right product or it might be early. Whereas sometimes it's about, he thinks that there's a kind of, the product and scale moment is there, as well as things being right with the founder. And I'd say it's a little bit of a kind of feel combination, but I think the companies that we have been looking at investing in that are more in like kind of our swim lane, it's easier to understand them quickly and see, is there a real addressable
power, energy, sustainability.
Correct.
You've so much domain expertise, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that is something that we naturally feel comfortable in. But also I'd say in finance, like, I had a background in banking as well. So there are some aspects of that we've looked at deals that we understand intuitively about how that they might work in the market too. So I think that, the less you understand, the more time you have to spend to actually invest in a kind of more committed way. Otherwise you might invest because, you're taking a punt, or you're relying on somebody else's kind of due diligence and going, I trust that person. Not to say that you shouldn't do that occasionally, but if you really want to invest, you actually need to take the time to understand, or actually have a pretty good understanding to start off with. So I'd say that's key. Like, I think that's really important to us, that we're actually not just putting money in, but building understanding on a basis of like good understanding to start off with, as well as having good chemistry with the founders and wanting to support them. And some of the ones we've looked at, they've actually had like previous investors that have put like really onerous terms on the founders. And we had like kind of avoided bringing money into Power Ledger in the past where there was onerous terms. And so I think we also want to have really kind of simple straight equity deals with founders and do things that really support founders and invest in them because we actually have a lot of faith in their ability to build a business as well. So I'd say that's quite front and center to how we want to approach things as well.
Amazing. Yeah, that is awesome. Is there anything, thank you for supporting Acti Ventures, obviously. Is there anything any of our investors or portfolio companies can do to help you and Power Ledger?
When we work in a very technical field, energy, and sometimes when you're very technical, you don't even understand that you're not communicating things as elegantly as you possibly could. So even if they could just like look at our website and tell us, I don't understand this, maybe you could describe this better or flesh it out more. I think that would actually be helpful because so much of what you're doing is actually having it be readily understood.
That's good. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for your support of Acti Ventures. I'm always excited when I know Gemma's coming to a conference.
Likewise.
I'm to see her, like Greece or the Crypto Finance Conference.
It's been great. Our daughters have hung out together here.
I know. That's been so fun. I hope they get more opportunities to hang out.
Definitely.
So yeah, my daughter is definitely a fan of your daughter. So.
Well, the feeling is mutual.
They were so cute on the boat, like
always adorable,
hugging each other. So
super sweet. Yeah, I noticed that they're just doing like puzzles together upstairs.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think whatever your daughter does, my daughter will want to follow because she's the older, cool kid. So, yeah. So they're having fun. But thank you for your time. Thank you for your support.
Thanks, Amanda.
Excited to follow all of your journey and
collaborate together.
And collaborate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.